Now I'd like to invite all the children to come to the front. All the kids, you're welcome. And Mr. Marcus has a word for us.
Come on up. Here's somebody who's excited. Morning. Good morning, everybody. How are you doing this morning? It's good. I have a question for you. So far today, has anybody told you that you are loved? Yes? Good. I'm so glad to hear that. It's possible to go through a whole day and not hear that you are loved sometimes. So for me, whenever I'm talking to a group of kids, especially kids, it's important to me that I make sure to say, you are loved. You are loved more than you can possibly imagine. First of all, by God, but also by your families and by everybody in this room. That's one of my favorite reasons to come to church at least once a week, to hear that I am loved and to be able to say that you are loved. So if we did nothing else today, we'll do that. How's that? But I want to tell you a story. We've heard a lot about bread this morning. We've been hearing a lot about bread if you've been here the last couple of weeks. Bread is kind of a big deal in the Bible. How many of you like bread? Do you like bread? Depends on what type of bread. What's your favorite kind of bread? Zucchini. Okay, I did not see that answer coming. Zucchini bread was not on my list of possible bread. Zucchini bread is amazing, if it's done right. What about the rest of you? What are your favorite kinds of bread? What's your favorite kind of bread? Also zucchini bread. Okay, gonna have to expand my understanding of bread. Any others? My favorite is sourdough. How about you?
Either croissants or banana bread.
Now we're getting really adventurous. Croissants are amazing. Banana and sourdough, yeah. When I was a kid, my least favorite kind of bread was rye bread. So I understand it depends on the bread. Now I love rye bread. Rye bread's amazing. Yeah. Pumpkin bread. We're getting some great answers. Well, every country, every culture, every kind of cooking on the planet kind of starts with some kind of bread. And so I think that's why the Bible talks about bread a lot. And there's a lot of stories about people who are hungry, who didn't have enough to eat, and a lot of times God fed them, and God always fed them with bread. Bread was always part of how God fed people. But there's one story about God feeding somebody that I think is really, really special. You guys have heard of the prophet Elijah? You know some stories about Elijah? So there was this one time where Elijah was living in the wilderness, which also happens a lot in the Bible. People are always out in the desert. Doesn't seem like a great idea, but they are. They wind up in the wilderness where there's not a lot of bread and not a lot of water. And Elijah was living by a small brook where he was able to get water, but he didn't have food. And God sent ravens every day to bring him, what do you think? Bread. Not zucchini bread, I don't think, although that would have been really special. But they brought him bread every day. But then that brook dried up. And so even if he had bread, he didn't have water. And so God said to him, I want you to travel way far to a different city, and I've commanded a woman there to feed you. That seems like an interesting solution to the problem. So Elijah goes, and he meets this woman, and he says to her, can you get me a drink of water and something to eat? Because God told him that she was going to have food for him. Do you know what's really interesting about the story? The woman that God sent Elijah to get food didn't have any food herself. Did God make a mistake? Did God send Elijah to the wrong woman? No. And Elijah knew that God didn't make a mistake, so he said, you bring me whatever you have, and I promise there will be enough. And that woman believed Elijah, and she went and got the very little bit that she had, the last meal she had to eat, and she shared it with Elijah, and the two of them lived together for the next several years, and the food never ran out. And I think that tells us something really, really important, that God takes care of us by having us take care of each other. We have to trust that that works. So here's our blessing for this morning, and I'm going to ask all of the big people in the church to reach out their hands of blessing to you. And you can reach out your hand of blessing and say, this week, God will take care of us
God will take care of us
as we take care of each other
as we take care of each other
because we are loved.
because we are loved.
So we're going to go downstairs now, and we're going to put that into practice. Brother Todd was very helpful and lit the oven downstairs, and we are going to make bread for everybody else. Does that sound like a good idea? All right, let's go bake some bread.